If you won $20 million, what changes would you make in your life? Write in the comments how your life would change if you won such huge money. Enjoy watching, everyone. Story 1. I would keep working for a bit, but at the same time, I'd be asking around outside of work to figure out the best way to invest and make more money. A famous quote from Warren Buffett I remember is, "If you don't find a way to make money in your sleep, you will work until you die." And that stuck with me so much that I wrote it on a board in my room, Short answer, new car and house. Story 2. I would pay off my mortgage and hire a full-time gardener. Add another dog, hire a full-time assistant, and rent a beach house for the months of September, August, April, and May, and a mountain place for July and August. Do some updates to the house. Set up a trust, decide what charities to support, concentration feeding, housing, education, and animal welfare. Story 3. I'd hire a financial advisor, invest $5 million, put $10 million in savings and pay taxes, and have the rest to live with until I need more, which investments and savings would cover that. I would instantly retire my parents, even though they are already close to retirement, and then pay off my sister's college, and also use it for my college. I'd probably also start a company, because I have lots of ideas. Story 4. I wouldn't really change my spending habits. I might invest more in gaming a bit, but that's about it, and I'd stop working. I'm a simple guy. I'd still shop at Old Navy for my jeans, still wouldn't eat out. I might buy more seafood at the market, then I'm playing some motherfucking World of Warcraft or watching a movie, having great sex, and taking my dog to the park. People make life more complicated than it needs to be. You could give me 100 million and it wouldn't really change my answer. Story 5. Tell no one in my friends, family, or anyone that knew me. Pay off all debt. CC, student loan, anything. Hire a really good lawyer off a reference and a financial planner. Bank the return, transfer $1 million out for right now, and invest the rest immediately. Pay off my parents' house, fix up their cars, and set up retirement trusts for them for a long-term, fixed income where they could live very comfortably. I would still tell no one what happened or how I'm doing any of this. Do the same for myself and my siblings, and buy a reasonable car. Beyond a new car and home of my own, and a vacation for my immediate family, nothing else. I'd live as much like today as I can, except for splurging on travel to see friends, family, and experience the world with them. Prevent lifestyle inflation, live modestly, and try to keep the rest of it a secret. Story 6. I don't have fancy tastes. I have no desire for sports cars or fancy clothes or expensive watches. For me, money is freedom. The fewer obligations I have in life, the more freedom I have. As I get older, I've decided that freedom equals happiness. Not having debt or the necessity of a job or being able to move where I want on a whim would eliminate almost the entirety of my obligations. Story 7. Finally relax, spend time with my family and friends, and stop stressing over the silly things in life. I would sleep every night in bliss, knowing the day I awake to is fully dictated by me and what I want to do. I would catch up on every little thing I've missed over the years. I'd make those phone calls I never have the time or the energy to make. I'd finally, hopefully, write that book I've always wanted to write. I'd make sure my mom and dad are sorted and never have to work again. I would be very happy. Story 8. Obligatory quit job. Pay off house and credit cards. The house would get stripped down to its studs and all the problems fixed. Area flooded in 2016, and I think the contractors skimped on insulation, and I'm pretty sure there's a mold problem in the bathroom, plus other things. I'd probably want to upgrade the house a bit, like a proper garage instead of just a carport. I also have a massive oak tree that really needs some love from an arborist. I'd get my eyes fixed as much as possible. I'm horribly nearsighted, too much for LASIK to fix alone. I know ICL is a thing, but I might be too old for it now. I'd have to splurge on a new car. I had a literally new 16 Miata that the flood destroyed. It was so much fun to drive, I'd have to replace it. It was a little cramped for errands, but entirely possible. So maybe get a hatchback for a daily driver. I'm not sure if I'd got back to school specifically or just open up a PCMR store. I always thought it'd be a blast to put together high-end custom PCS. With that much money, I wouldn't really care if they sold or not. Just put them together, run benchmarks for the lulz, and put it in the window with whatever it costs to build. I'd be living on interest, so profit wouldn't matter. Story 9 tithes. Buy a pineapple pie. Grandma and mom payday memory honoring nod. Bills. Insurance for everything and loved ones, adopt, end-of-life prep cost advance payments, health/dental/vision/selective elective surgeries, move to a nicer home, fix/sell and upgrade autos, hire a financial advisor, accountant, purchase investment properties aiming for returns that are enough to live well, provide for generational wealth, invest in my family for quality of life, gradual improvements, multiple opportunities and checkpoints with and within incentive-driven contracts, travel, donate to worthy charities, invest in community services, behavior health services, property owner, renters aid services, and invest in local city, county, and senators' districts, with multiple checkpoints for additional future donation increase measured by out of non and other area city, county, or Senate review surveys and observation of invested city/county/district for gains in government and national corporation allurement, development improvements and concessions, brought to actual fruition, ever-increasing gainful employment opportunities, focused educational opportunities, including full scholarship options with legal contingency that recipient contracts their post-educational return for 6-year reinvestment allotment in original area/city/county/district, or repay original scholarship for another to have the same opportunity. Update revamp vocational fast-track options, and overall visual, economic, and safety improvements with ever-rising quantity of life improvements within a 66-year contract, honoring local and historic Route 66. Story 1020 million US dollar is the equivalent of 480 billion VND. This mean it would be enough for me to paid all my total 4 years college fees, plus 112 million VND, get in place in an apartment, 4 billion VND, or buying property at somewhere around 40 billion VND, and had the taxes no longer a problem for the next 3 or 4 years. Buy better hardware for my upcoming works as a designer, which currently, in total, is approximately 600.000 VND. Less worries about basic need for next few years. Story 11. We discussed this, and ended up saying that we should just split it and do what we want with our half. However, my thoughts were, 10% to kids' future, 10% to paying family, and just our bestest friend mortgage, 10% to our mortgage, and a block of land in rural, 10% to charity, probably Gumboot Friday, 60% into investment and draw a wage out of interest, probably 100K each a year seems good. After we die, it all goes into a trust and interest is drawn and divided between kids, each Xmas forever. Story 12. I'd quit my 9-5 first of all. Don't hate my job, but it takes up way too much of my time and energy to warrant keeping if I didn't need the money. I'd get a dog, always wanted one, but I can't really have one working full-time. I would start going to the gym 4 times a week and lift weights again. I stopped doing that years ago so I'd have time for my hobbies. I instead walk an hour on my lunch break for physical activity. But without work, I'd have time. I don't think I'd move because my family is here. I would buy a house in a nice neighborhood or something. I'd spend my days making YouTube videos and streaming more, a lot more. I already do these things, but if I didn't have to work, I could make it my full-time gig. I've always loved chess, but never had time to work on my game seriously, so I'd probably do that as well. Study, play online, and maybe attend some in-person tournaments if I felt I was good enough to be competitive. Story 13. The obvious answer like buy, build a house, or pay of the mortgage. Except I'd build a housing co-op. There are these new apartment building near one of the transit centers, and they want like $1,800, $1,900 plus a month for a goddamn studio apartment. Nearly $2,000 a month. And it doesn't even have a fucking bedroom. It makes my blood boil, and crave violence against the corporate landlords. I'm currently homeless, and can't afford housing when the corporate landlords conspire to charge absolutely exorbitant rents, so I would obviously secure some housing. But other people are getting bent over the barrel by these fuckers, so I'd build an apartment building to use as a housing co-op. So people could actually housing, and their rent would go to actually maintaining, improving the building, plus however they vote on using any extra, instead of into some slumlord's pocket. Story 14. A lot of things. First, hire a team to help me manage the money. Buy a house, dog, cat, desktop computer, newer car, etc. Hire a personal trainer, personal chef, dietary coach, take care of my family and probably give some to my friends, then figure out what to do for charity. I'd love to upgrade some local animal shelters, and I remember a cool YouTube video where a college students had their tuition paid, so doing something like that. I'd love to give back and help people further science. Story 15. I was thinking about how I'd buy houses for me and my friends to live next to each other and live off the interest, but then I was like, wait, 10 EUIM is how much I wanted to have at retirement, and that nets me like 500K a year at 5%, and after taxes I'll only have 10 M. I suppose I'd find a place with houses next to each other, and I'd tell them if they buy the one next to me, then I'll make the house payments, but they'll still have to keep their jobs. Story 16. I mean, first, I'd probably divide it up and deposit it in several bank accounts, some in-country and others offshore. Then I'd use some of it to acquire assets such as artwork, rare cars, property, etc., things that mostly appreciate in value. I'd also invest some of the money into low-risk stocks and bonds to generate some passive income and perhaps donate to charity. Point being, I'd want to work out where to actually store the money first. Story 17. Everything. Assuming I get that much in my pocket, I'd probably buy a house for like $2.5 million, set aside $1 million for cats, automotive expenses, and another $1 million for travel and miscellaneous expenses. Invest the remaining money in a diverse portfolio that generates income, at least half real estate. Quit my job and just spend the rest of my life pursuing hobbies, mastering new skills, and helping others. Some people say they'd get bored, but I don't think I would. I'd constantly be learning a new language, learn tons of new skills like sailing, flying, scuba diving, fencing, tennis, crochet, etc. I'd invest lots of time in learning to cook different cuisines and styles. I'd have more than enough to do to keep me occupied, but I'd always have time to just chill and do nothing also. Story 18. Oh my God. I'd pay off my existing student loans and pay cash for my next degree, pay off my medical debt, sock some away for when my partner is ready to get their master's, whenever they're ready, and we wouldn't have to worry about rent, pay for their medical treatments, buy that hybrid we've been eyeing, or that better bed frame, or that ring, take them to St. Vincent, be able to plan to see Europe, instead of worrying in the back of my mind that I'll die without smelling the coast of Ireland, or walking old Italian streets, or seeing coral, or tasting real Japanese dango. Actually have some money to spend on those GoFundMes and mutual aid groups. Spoil all my artist friends silly now that I can afford to buy all their books and art. Probably invest, since that's what everyone says you should do, but I'll have someone else help with that LOL. We could finally get a cat, hell, a dog. I'm actually quite content with where we're heading. I wouldn't mind a bigger apartment, but I was already anticipating waiting a few until we could get another bedroom. But to get a better apartment, and to know, truly know, that we'd be financially safe if anything happened to us, to know that we'd simply be able to afford comfort without the nagging threat of financial ruin nipping at our heels, I can't even imagine. Story 19. I've been working since 2 months after I turned 16. That was October of 1991. I have not had a break from work longer than 17 days since, and that was leave when I was in the military. Off the top of my head, I'd be done working for other people. Forever. I would sleep when I'm tired. No schedule. I would run even more miles. I would lift even more weights. Travel 1/4 of the time. Shit. I haven't even seen everywhere in the US that I want. Come to think of it, I haven't hiked but a few miles of the Appalachian Trail. So I'm all in on that. Second, modest house in Alaska. That would cost $500,000, but still. Practice guitar and bass more. I'd mostly live off the interest. I'd make sure my kids, ages 19, 28, get a salary from the interest too. So, $12 million for me. I live off of the interest, or maybe something that can pull at least a 4% return. That puts me at an annual salary of $400K or so, $2M for each of my kids, and an arrangement where they live off of the interest or something with a 4% or more return too. So, $80K salary. They've all had jobs already. They would appreciate it. I want them to not have to work their lives away like I did. Story 20. This is probably hard for anyone to answer because that kind of money is life-changing, and we really can't fathom the changes it would bring. I'll do my best to be realistic. Currently, I make roughly $80K/year, and I still live at home with my mom. Not really for financial reasons, but because I ended up with full custody of my daughter and my mother takes her to school for me in the morning so I can be at work on time. The first thing I would do is buy my own house and hire someone that can take my daughter to school for me in the morning. This would likely have to be done through an agency that vets the employees, and I assume the cost would be high. I wouldn't want the nanny to be live-in, but regardless, paying to have a reputable and trustworthy person to have access to my house and my child while I'm not there is tremendous. I suppose if we're talking about $20M, I'd buy the house fully in cash. No need for payments. Beyond that, I wouldn't make any drastic changes. I love my job, and I actually work for myself, so I'd probably spend some of that money making improvements to the building, including small repairs I've put off, as well as upgrading tools and equipment. Maybe redesign the office and shop areas like I've always wanted to, and replace some of our aging service vans with new ones. I'd set aside money for my daughter's school, college, and maybe indulge in some of my hobbies. I'd get a financial planner, someone that can help protect my money, and only when it would be safe to. I'd build myself a detached garage to house classic cars and work on them. I'd like to think I'd end up doing what I do now, but more comfortably, and maybe with less stress and urgency. Story 21. Pay taxes. That's about 12 million remaining. I would invest at a very safe 5%. That's about 600,000 a year. Taxes on that would leave me about 350,000 per year. I would reinvest half that to try and keep up with inflation in the long term. So that's about 175,000, which is a very nice living. I am 5 years shy of retiring with a pension, so I would still work for 5 years and bank that each year for the next 5. In short, no changes externally. Story 22. I would not study and work and take a break. It has been 15 years since I enrolled in college, finished my degree, started working, got a master degree, worked, changed countries, started again for a master degree, switched degrees, started again from scratch, got broken up, had 7 depression, had back surgery, started working to support myself during studies, switched part-time job multiple times, got fired from job 2 times, finally found a job that is good, company went bankrupt, did not get paid, burned through savings, found a job at the last moment, started job and wake up at 5 a.m. every day for the said job, study at least 10 hours a day to finish uni, do side projects for jobs, attend online and offline class. No idea what I have in the future. With 20 million USD, I will retire, rest for 6 months to a year, rent a small room in a no-name city in Spain by the sea, watch the sun go down and reflect and ponder over the most obscure things and the most grandest things in life. Try to find a woman to share my life with and maybe start a family and raise them better than I was. Story 23. I'd be so much more relaxed about everything in my life right now. I'm currently studying a master's in law, as well as for the SQEs I need to qualify as a solicitor, and if I fail, I can barely afford the retake fees. I live at home because my saving from the age of 16 have essentially been kept back for what I'm doing right now. My mom can't work, so as soon as I move out, she'll have to move out into a tiny place her benefits can barely cover. I'll never have a fallback if I run into financial hardship. I can't not work, because the household relies on the limited income I still have time to bring in while I study. My partner's currently living situation is awful, and she's struggling financially with no means to get out of her own rut in the near future. Forget 20 million. I'd take 1% of that. Hell, I'd be happy with any of that. All of my stress would melt away. I could study with a strong safety net. I could provide a home for my mum, myself, and my partner. Hell, we could have 5 houses each with that money. I could finally learn to drive without worrying about paying for stupidly overpriced car insurance for years while I'm commuting. Suffice to say, being poor sucks. And I know that people have it way worse than me and deserve that kind of money a hell of a lot more, but damn, a guy can dream. Story 24. Pay of my parents' debt. Buy my father his dream car. Get a vacation home in some warm country like South France or Italy. Then invest the rest in a safe index and keep like 2 million in an interest account. And keep 1 mil for fun stuff for myself. As I'm way too young to retire, sub 20. I would work until 40 or 50, then retire when the savings money would have been like doubled or something. Then just work whenever I want to. I believe one would get bored ASF without a purpose. So unless I had found something I enjoy more than working, like renovating some cabin Martin Doulard style. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, like it, be sure to write comments and share your stories.